Alright everybody, we're back for episode 7 of the Untitled Hockey Game devlog. There's a lot to get through, so let's not waste time. First, the huge news. The game is essentially ready to be turned into a demo. After working on the game and learning GameMaker at the same time for about 2 years, in January I made myself a to-do list specifically of things that need to be done to get the game into minimum viable product or bare minimum state. Players and teams are randomly generated, names, appearances, and stats. You can sign and release them. You can sim games, the stats are tracked. Events happen and make you choose. Now I want to stress the game is far from complete. There's still a ton of things I want to add. Not just new features, but expand the ones that are already there. But this is finally the minimum of what I'd consider a playable game now. So I'm gonna start doing private playtests, and hopefully soon I'll be able to put up a public demo on itch or something. Okay, so what did I do to get here? Well, first, I did a bunch of work on how the AI manages their rosters. I rewrote the AI's roster building to be smarter, since now the NIHL has randomized 1 to 3 year contracts. They can't just sign 6 players at the start of every year. So now every time the AI signs a player, it looks at who the GM just signed. Then it looks at how many open spaces there are at that position. If there are enough players to fill those spots, it sorts the entire bench by the GM's preference of offense, defense, or balance, and then starts filling the empty spots. I also wrote a new function which runs at the end of the season, and after releasing any players whose contracts are over, it adjusts the AI GM's brains to desire whatever position they're missing the most of. Unless the whole team is empty, in which case it picks a position at random, because otherwise every team would always want forwards because there's 3 of them. Someday, I'd like to give GMs defined personalities, so I can say, this GM is defense-minded, so he always goes after defenders first. Or I could get more realistic and say, this GM can't turn down a player over 6'4". As I mentioned though, the GM only has preferences per position, so they might prefer offensive, defensive, or balanced defenders specifically, for example, but it's nothing more complicated than that. This was a big change. AI teams now have a default lineup, or what you might call best lineup. Right now, it's just set at the beginning of the year, when the team has signed all 6 players that they intend to use all year. So previously, when a player got injured, the AI would sign someone to take his place. But then when the injured guy was healthy, the AI would totally rethink its entire lineup from zero and move a bunch of players around, which kinda makes sense. You have an extra player now, but, the replacement you signed, I'm pretty sure will never be better than the guy you signed in the first place. So now the AI just finds the guy that's not in the default lineup, replaces him with the player that's supposed to be there. Also, because NIHL players do not have moods assigned at the start of the game still, I wrote a simple function to run at the end of the season and ensure that everyone in the free agents list has a mood. Obviously, the right way to do this is to give every player a mood when the new game is started, but moods don't affect gameplay yet, so this was just a quick and easy fix to the problem. I gave player generation a rewrite, so now, instead of just the UK, players can be from England, Wales, Ireland, Scotland. I used the actual populations of the countries at the time to get the percentages within the UK where the player might have been born. And actually, behind the scenes, players are from Ireland or Northern Ireland, but these players are all shown as just Ireland until the partition of Ireland in 1922, when their country names and flags will change. Oh, yeah, so speaking of flags, I added flags to the game too. These are just placeholders at the moment. I'm not sure what I'll settle on for size or resolution, whatever, but this, surprise, surprise, was actually more difficult than I anticipated. In my modern day version of this game, I hand drew all the flags. I used the official RGB values wherever they're defined by law, and they were as close as I could get to the correct proportions, but I think they were only 100 by 100 max, so that was sometimes difficult, but it's got nothing on historical flags. First off, legally, most of the countries in the game use the same flag. Canada and Newfoundland were dominions of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. Great Britain, of course, being England and Wales and Scotland. So legally, all 6 of them flew the Union Jack. But that would make the game really boring to look at. So for Canada, for example, I decided to use the Red Ensign, which started as just a naval flag for civilian vessels, but it was flown over Canadian Parliament. It was carried by Canadian soldiers in World War I, so I think it's fair to say that Canadians thought of it as representing Canada. And Newfoundland's Red Ensign was actually was their official flag from 1904 to 1931. Okay, so that's not bad. Scotland's flag also goes back to at least the 1540s before they joined with England, so that makes sense. But what about Wales or Ireland? Wales was annexed by England in the 1200s, and Ireland was a protectorate of England for 300 years before they were merged into the United Kingdom in 1800. So, as far as I could tell, from, Wikipedia research at least, neither had separate official flags in 1918. Wales's very recognizable flag wasn't official until 1959. But this flag was flown on an Antarctic expedition that left Cardiff in 1910, so I think we can get away with using it. For Ireland, I could use St. Patrick's Saltire, which is supposed to represent Ireland in the UK flag, but Ireland didn't really have one accepted full island flag before partition. England, of course, has St. George's flag from before the Empire, so maybe I'll only use the Union Jack if I ever get around to adding the Olympics. But obviously, I've got to put some more thought into this. You can now release players. This was part of trying to get the playtest ready. I know that not everyone is going to instinctively manage their salary cap well, and I don't want a player to get stuck, unable to play because they have no money. So for now, it's just a simple yes/no pop-up. Like all the pop-ups in the game, I want to eventually transition them over to the new dialogue style pop-ups that I implemented in a previous episode, but I've got more important stuff to do, so that'll have to wait for now. I re-implemented the team collapse event, which actually wasn't as hard to fix as I thought it would be. That's mostly because since I originally wrote that event, I cleaned up a lot of the data behind the scenes to make it easier to work with. I actually did a huge rewrite of the way stats are stored. I realized that in the 5 or 6 different places where player stats were saved, half of them were slightly different. So I took a whole day just to standardize all of that. Also, I did some little things like buttons not appearing or disappearing when they should. I removed some unused code from old versions that had been superseded by new code, stuff like that. Kind of related to that, I have an array with pairs of colors that the AI teams would choose from when they're created. They weren't deleted when a team chose one, but with just 3 teams in your league, I don't think I ever saw colors doubled up. Regardless, now it's a permanent global and they are deleted when chosen, and if a team collapses, the colors are re-added so that they're up for grabs again. If I ever get around to adding league expansion and adding more teams, that will obviously be useful. I am still messing with the fonts and the window design, trying to get more of that 90s Windows look. Art is not as important as getting everything functional right now, but the feel or the vibe of a game is certainly not unimportant. The biggest thing that I did probably for the art was randomize the players' faces more. So now there's multiple randomized skin tones and different head shapes, although I'm still not totally happy with these because I'm trying to use the same hair on every head shape, which limits how different I can make each one. I already had to adjust every facial hair type to match the different head shapes though, so maybe there's no getting around it. I also added this little function called save update. This just runs after a game is loaded and it tries to fix old saves. It just annoyed me that while I was working on updating the way data was stored, I would have to start a new save every time because the old saves weren't compatible. This is just a quick fix for when I know I've broken something, of course, but it did give me the idea of putting version numbers in your save. Then I could have something that says, if save version is less than X, try this data update. Okay, that's enough yapping. I'm getting back to work. If you're interested in playing the game when a playtest demo comes out, make sure to follow me here or on Twitter @CadetBrettBot, and keep an eye out for an announcement. See you next time.